The Love Letters of Mary Wollstonecraft, Part 5, Letters 40 to 49. In the last part, her deepest heartbreak found its voice. Now, her story continues, shaped by reflection, endurance, and hope. You may occasionally hear an unfinished name, or only a title such as Mr. or Doctor. Those omissions are part of the surviving historical text, where certain names were removed by later editors. They have been preserved exactly as they appear in the original publication. Every uncertainty, every heartbreak, remains exactly as she left it more than 2 centuries ago. Welcome to She Reads Tales, and now, her love letters. Letter 40. 26 Charlotte Street, Rathbone Place, London, Friday, May 22nd, 1795. I have just received your affectionate letter, and am distressed to think that I have added to your embarrassments at this troublesome juncture, when the exertion of all the faculties of your mind appears to be necessary to extricate you out of your pecuniary difficulties. I suppose it was something relative to the circumstance you have mentioned, which made request to see me today to converse about a matter of great importance. Be that as it may, his letter, such is the state of my spirits, inconceivably alarmed me, and rendered the last night as distressing as the 2 former had been. I have labored to calm my mind since you left me. Still, I find that tranquility is not to be obtained by exertion. It is a feeling so different from the resignation of despair. I am, however, no longer angry with you, nor will I ever utter another complaint. There are arguments which convince the reason, whilst they carry death to the heart. We have had too many cruel explanations that not only cloud every future prospect, but embitter the remembrances which alone give life to affection. Let the subject never be revived. It seems to me that I have not only lost the hope, but the power of being happy. Every emotion is now sharpened by anguish. My soul has been shook, and my tone of feelings destroyed. I have gone out and sought for dissipation, if not amusement, merely to fatigue still more, I find, my irritable nerves. My friend, my dear friend, examine yourself well. I am out of the question, for alas, I am nothing. And discover what you wish to do, what will render you most comfortable. Or, to be more explicit, whether you desire to live with me or part forever. When you can once ascertain it, tell me frankly, I conjure you. For believe me, I have very involuntarily interrupted your peace. I shall expect you to dinner on Monday, and will endeavor to assume a cheerful face to greet you. At any rate, I will avoid conversations which only tend to harass your feelings, because I am most affectionately yours, Mary. Letter 41. May 27th, 1795. Wednesday. I enclose you the letter which you desired me to forward, and I am tempted very laconically to wish you a good morning. Not because I am angry or have nothing to say, but to keep down a wounded spirit. I shall make every effort to calm my mind, yet a strong conviction seems to whirl round in the very center of my brain, which, like the fiat of fate, emphatically assures me that grief has a firm hold of my heart. God bless you. Yours sincerely, Mary. Letter 42. Hull, Wednesday, 2 o'clock, May 27th, 1795. We arrived here about an hour ago. I am extremely fatigued with the child, who would not rest quiet with anybody but me during the night. And now we are here in a comfortless, damp room in a sort of a tomb-like house. This, however, I shall quickly remedy, for when I have finished this letter, which I must do immediately because the post goes out early, I shall sally forth and inquire about a vessel and an inn. I will not distress you by talking of the depression of my spirits, or the struggle I had to keep alive my dying heart. It is even now too full to allow me to write with composure. Imlay, dear Imlay, am I always to be tossed about thus? Shall I never find an asylum to rest contented in? How can you love to fly about continually, dropping down, as it were, in a new world, cold and strange every other day? Why do you not attach those tender emotions round the idea of home, which even now dim my eyes? This alone is affection. Everything else is only humanity, electrified by sympathy. I will write to you again tomorrow, when I know how long I am to be detained, and hope to get a letter quickly from you, to cheer yours sincerely and affectionately, Mary. Fanny is playing near me in high spirits. She was so pleased with the noise of the mail horn. She has been continually imitating it. Adieu. Letter 43. Hull, May 28th, 1795. Thursday. A lady has just sent to offer to take me to Beverley. I have then only a moment to exclaim against the vague manner in which people give information. But why talk of inconveniences which are in fact trifling, when compared with the sinking of the heart I have felt? I did not intend to touch this painful string. God bless you. Yours truly, Mary. Letter 44. Hull, Friday, June 12th, 1795. I have just received yours dated the 9th, which I suppose was a mistake, for it could scarcely have loitered so long on the road. The general observations which apply to the state of your own mind appear to me just as far as they go, and I shall always consider it as one of the most serious misfortunes of my life that I did not meet you before satiety had rendered your senses so fastidious as almost to close up every tender avenue of sentiment and affection that leads to your sympathetic heart. You have a heart, my friend, yet, hurried away by the impetuosity of inferior feelings, you have sought in vulgar excesses for that gratification which only the heart can bestow. The common run of men, I know, with strong health and gross appetites, must have variety to banish ennui, because the imagination never lends its magic wand to convert appetite into love, cemented by according reason. Ah, my friend, you know not the ineffable delight, the exquisite pleasure, which arises from a unison of affection and desire, when the whole soul and senses are abandoned to a lively imagination that renders every emotion delicate and rapturous. Yes, these are emotions over which satiety has no power, and the recollection of which even disappointment cannot disenchant. But they do not exist without self-denial. These emotions, more or less strong, appear to me to be the distinctive characteristic of genius, the foundation of taste, and of that exquisite relish for the beauties of nature, of which the common herd of eaters and drinkers and child-begetters certainly have no idea. You will smile at an observation that has just occurred to me. I consider those minds as the most strong and original, whose imagination acts as the stimulus to their senses. Well, you will ask, what is the result of all this reasoning? Why, I cannot help thinking that it is possible for you, having great strength of mind, to return to nature and regain a sanity of constitution and purity of feeling, which would open your heart to me. I would fain rest there. Yet, convinced more than ever of the sincerity and tenderness of my attachment to you, the involuntary hopes which a determination to live has revived are not sufficiently strong to dissipate the cloud that despair has spread over futurity. I have looked at the sea and at my child, hardly daring to own to myself the secret wish that it might become our tomb, and that the heart, still so alive to anguish, might there be quieted by death. At this moment, 10,000 complicated sentiments press for utterance, weigh on my heart and obscure my sight. Are we ever to meet again? And will you endeavor to render that meeting happier than the last? Will you endeavor to restrain your caprices in order to give vigor to affection and to give play to the checked sentiments that nature intended should expand your heart? I cannot indeed, without agony, think of your bosoms being continually contaminated, and bitter are the tears which exhaust my eyes, when I recollect why my child and I are forced to stray from the asylum, in which, after so many storms, I had hoped to rest, smiling at angry fate. These are not common sorrows, nor can you perhaps conceive how much active fortitude it requires to labor perpetually to blunt the shafts of disappointment. Examine now yourself, and ascertain whether you can live in something like a settled style. Let our confidence in future be unbounded. Consider whether you find it necessary to sacrifice me to what you term the zest of life. And when you have once a clear view of your own motives, of your own incentive to action, do not deceive me. The train of thoughts which the writing of this epistle awoke makes me so wretched that I must take a walk to rouse and calm my mind. But first, let me tell you that if you really wish to promote my happiness, you will endeavor to give me as much as you can of yourself. You have great mental energy, and your judgment seems to me so just that it is only the dupe of your inclination in discussing one subject. The post does not go out today. Tomorrow I may write more tranquilly. I cannot yet say when the vessel will sail in which I have determined to depart. Hull, June 13th, 1795. Saturday morning. Your second letter reached me about an hour ago. You were certainly wrong in supposing that I did not mention you with respect, though, without my being conscious of it, some sparks of resentment may have animated the gloom of despair. Yes, with less affection, I should have been more respectful. However, the regard which I have for you is so unequivocal to myself. I imagine that it must be sufficiently obvious to everybody else. Besides, the only letter I intended for the public eye was two, and that I destroyed from delicacy before you saw them, because it was only written, of course warmly in your praise, to prevent any odium being thrown on you. I am harassed by your embarrassments, and shall certainly use all my efforts to make the business terminate to your satisfaction in which I am engaged. My friend, my dearest friend, I feel my fate united to yours by the most sacred principles of my soul, and the yearns of, yes, I will say it, a true, unsophisticated heart. Yours most truly, Mary. If the wind be fair, the captain talks of sailing on Monday, but I am afraid I shall be detained some days longer. At any rate, continue to write. I want this support till you are sure I am where I cannot expect a letter. And, if any should arrive after my departure, a gentleman, not Mr. Friend, I promise you, from whom I have received great civilities, will send them after me. Do write by every occasion. I am anxious to hear how your affairs go on, and, still more, to be convinced that you are not separating yourself from us. For my little darling is calling Papa, and adding her parrot word, "Come, come." And will you not come and let us exert ourselves? I shall recover all my energy when I am convinced that my exertions will draw us more closely together. Once more, adieu. Letter 45. Hull, Sunday, June 14th, 1795. I rather expected to hear from you today. I wish you would not fail to write to me for a little time, because I am not quite well. Whether I have any good sleep or not, I wake in the morning in violent fits of trembling. And in spite of all my efforts, the child, everything, fatigues me, in which I seek for solace or amusement. Mr. forced on me a letter to a physician of this place. It was fortunate, for I should otherwise have had some difficulty to obtain the necessary information. His wife is a pretty woman. I can admire, a pretty woman when I am alone, and he an intelligent and rather interesting man. They have behaved to me with great hospitality, and poor Fanny was never so happy in her life as amongst their young brood. They took me in their carriage to Beverley, and I ran over my favorite walks with a vivacity that would have astonished you. The town did not please me quite so well as formerly. It appeared so diminutive, and when I found that many of the inhabitants had lived in the same houses ever since I left it, I could not help wondering how they could thus have vegetated, whilst I was running over a world of sorrow, snatching at pleasure, and throwing off prejudices. The place where I at present am is much improved, but it is astonishing what strides aristocracy and fanaticism have made since I resided in this country. The wind does not appear inclined to change, so I am still forced to linger. When do you think that you shall be able to set out for France? I do not entirely like the aspect of your affairs, and still less your connections on either side of the water. Often do I sigh when I think of your entanglements in business and your extreme restlessness of mind. Even now I am almost afraid to ask you whether the pleasure of being free does not overbalance the pain you felt at parting with me. Sometimes I indulge the hope that you will feel me necessary to you, or why should we meet again? But the moment after, despair damps my rising spirits, aggravated by the emotions of tenderness, which ought to soften the cares of life. God bless you. Yours sincerely and affectionately, Mary. Letter 46. Hull, June 15th, 1795. I want to know how you have settled with respect to... In short, be very particular in your account of all your affairs. Let our confidence, my dear, be unbounded. The last time we were separated was a separation indeed on your part. Now you have acted more ingenuously. Let the most affectionate interchange of sentiments fill up the aching void of disappointment. I almost dread that your plans will prove abortive. Yet should the most unlucky turn send you home to us, convinced that a true friend is a treasure, I should not much mind having to struggle with the world again. Accuse me not of pride. Yet sometimes, when nature has opened my heart to its author, I have wondered that you did not set a higher value on my heart. Receive a kiss from Fanny, I was going to add, if you will not take one from me. And believe me yours sincerely, Mary. The wind still continues in the same quarter. Letter 47. Hull, June, 1795, Tuesday morning. The captain has just sent to inform me that I must be on board in the course of a few hours. I wished to have stayed till tomorrow. It would have been a comfort to me to have received another letter from you. Should one arrive, it will be sent after me. My spirits are agitated. I scarcely know why. The quitting England seems to be a fresh parting. Surely you will not forget me. 1,000 weak forebodings assault my soul, and the state of my health renders me sensible to everything. It is surprising that in London, in a continual conflict of mind, I was still growing better, whilst here, bowed down by the despotic hand of fate, forced into resignation by despair, I seem to be fading away, perishing beneath a cruel blight that withers up all my faculties. The child is perfectly well. My hand seems unwilling to add adieu. I know not why this inexpressible sadness has taken possession of me. It is not a presentiment of ill, yet having been so perpetually the sport of disappointment, having a heart that has been, as it were, a mark for misery, I dread to meet wretchedness in some new shape. Well, let it come. I care not. What have I to dread, who have so little to hope for? God bless you. I am most affectionately and sincerely yours, Mary. Letter 48. June 17th, 1795. Wednesday morning. I was hurried on board yesterday about 3 o'clock, the wind having changed. But before evening it veered round to the old point, and here we are, in the midst of mists and water, only taking advantage of the tide to advance a few miles. You will scarcely suppose that I left the town with reluctance. Yet it was even so, for I wished to receive another letter from you, and I felt pain at parting, forever perhaps, from the amiable family, who had treated me with so much hospitality and kindness. They will probably send me your letter if it arrives this morning, for here we are likely to remain. I am afraid to think how long. The vessel is very commodious, and the captain a civil, open-hearted kind of man. There being no other passengers, I have the cabin to myself, which is pleasant, and I have brought a few books with me to beguile weariness. But I seem inclined rather to employ the dead moments of suspense in writing some effusions than in reading. What are you about? How are your affairs going on? It may be a long time before you answer these questions. My dear friend, my heart sinks within me. Why am I forced thus to struggle continually with my affections and feelings? Ah, why are those affections and feelings the source of so much misery, when they seem to have been given to vivify my heart and extend my usefulness? But I must not dwell on this subject. Will you not endeavor to cherish all the affection you can for me? What am I saying? Rather forget me if you can, if other gratifications are dearer to you. How is every remembrance of mine embittered by disappointment? What a world is this! They only seem happy who never look beyond sensual or artificial enjoyments. Adieu. Fanny begins to play with the cabin boy and is as gay as a lark. I will labor to be tranquil and am in every mood. Yours sincerely, Mary. Letter 49. June 18th, 1795. Thursday. Here I am still, and I have just received your letter of Monday by the pilot, who promised to bring it to me if we were detained, as he expected, by the wind. It is indeed wearisome to be thus tossed about without going forward. I have a violent headache, yet I am obliged to take care of the child, who is a little tormented by her teeth because is unable to do anything. She is rendered so sick by the motion of the ship as we ride at anchor. These are, however, trifling inconveniences compared with anguish of mind, compared with the sinking of a broken heart. To tell you the truth, I never suffered in my life so much from depression of spirits, from despair. I do not sleep, or, if I close my eyes, it is to have the most terrifying dreams, in which I often meet you with different casts of countenance. I will not, my dear Imlay, torment you by dwelling on my sufferings, and will use all my efforts to calm my mind instead of deadening it. At present, it is most painfully active. I find I am not equal to these continual struggles. Yet your letter this morning has afforded me some comfort, and I will try to revive hope. One thing let me tell you. When we meet again, surely we are to meet. It must be to part no more. I mean not to have seas between us. It is more than I can support. The pilot is hurrying me. God bless you. In spite of the commodiousness of the vessel, everything here would disgust my senses. Had I nothing else to think of? When the mind's free, the body's delicate. Mine has been too much hurt to regard trifles. Yours most truly, Mary. Thank you for being here and sharing this journey with me. I'll see you in the next part, here on She Reads Tales.